Shadowcrest Commander Xelios of Clan Starstrike. After the recapture of the capital, the Umbra, alongside our new militia army, went out to recapture lost settlements still under the remnants of the Xyrran forces. Their navy was utterly destroyed by the Terran fleet that arrived between them out of FTL travel. That should not be possible with standard FTL, but if there is anything I know about the Terrans by now, it is that they are anything but standard. They break every mold that has been recognized and tested for millennia. Their medical knowledge is extraordinary as well. After conquering the capital and the surrender of the Xyrran forces there, the large triage ships of the Terrans came. They were large but were still dwarfed by the 3 steel behemoths of the fleet. The triage ships had large red crosses painted on them. It signified that they are for humanitarian aid, or in this case, Illyrian aid. The Red Cross has a long history of being in the thick of war zones, helping in any way they can. Medic centers, food aid, finding lost family members. They did it all, and they did it well. After they landed, it took a few hours for all their setups to be finished, and they began treating my people with the same diligence as they would their own kind. It was wonderful to watch. I looked over the remnants of what was once a bustling town. It had become a makeshift stronghold for the leftover Xyrran soldiers. From the information my scouts gathered, the enemy forces numbered roughly 20,000, and since I split up my forces to go to other locations, I only had roughly 14,000. The enemy had hunkered down on the top level, blasting away every entry point from below, and turning every possible gun they had at the trees around them and the sky above. I guess they think they know what they are fighting here. They are even sorting out lights, making sure they have every part of their fortress lit up. "Guess someone high up there knows about the Umbra soldiers," came a voice from beside me. It was a subordinate commander of mine, Torian of Clan Sunrider. He was a friend of mine from my days in the planetary militia and a great warrior, able to shoot on the wing with such precision it would even make Grey impressed. "Indeed, Torian, and I don't think we can do much about their sturdy defenses. I do believe we will need some assistance from our Terran allies here," I said back as I studied the makeshift fort, looking for any weakness in it. "I suppose. It feels wrong, though. We should be the liberators of our homes," Torian said with a huff. "Do not forget, my friend, that it is thanks to the Umbra that you are able to be here right now. They rescued you from being shipped off as a slave," I answered back humorously, "and they also changed you. They mutated you. They are unnatural beings," he said as he glanced at my kotad, at his feathers puffing a bit. "I have accepted what I am now, and I have not mutated. I am enhanced, yes, but I am not mutated, you gray tail feather." I shot back at him with a glare I learned from a Terran expression. It worked wonders as it made him hesitant. "I will contact Umbra HQ and see what they can offer to help. I don't think it will be a lot since they are preparing to go further towards Xyrran space," I continued as I started typing on the kotadi. The kotad was a wondrous item, alongside the implants in my brain. I felt its power when I was commanding the entire Shadowcrest militia in the capital. My mind was processing information at such speed that it was faster for me to give out commands to my troops via my link rather than verbally. "OS-1, this is Shadowcrest, do you hear me?" I spoke into thin air. "This is OS-1, I hear you, Commander. How can I be of service?" came a reply from the female operator. "I am at location Delta 547, south of the town of Tyrrandal. I request assistance to eliminate the enemy threat there that has made a stronghold within the town itself. We are currently undermanned to take on such endeavors. I will send you the info I have gathered now," I said back as I sent the info file through the kotad. "Copy that, Shadowcrest. Info has been received. I will give you an update momentarily," came a reply. I waited for a moment in silence as I listened to the breeze. The tree branches swaying back and forth in a wave motion gave me a serene feeling. It was cut short as I heard a beep in my head. "Shadowcrest, this is OS-1. We have gone over the intel and will be sending the 6th Battalion of Raven Division to assist you," the operator said in a cheery voice. "And who will be commanding it, if I may ask?" I added quickly, wondering who I would be working with. "That would be Lieutenant Major Grey, sir," the operator replied. I was pleasantly surprised. I had not known that Grey had a promotion after we split ways on the OS, but what was that new rank? I looked through the data in my mind about Umbra military ranks and saw that it had an update. A new NCO position has been made, directly under the major, and acts as a field commander for a battalion. That was a very fitting rank for Gray. I felt happy for him. He thoroughly deserves it, and I can't wait to meet him again. Copy that OS one, thanks for the info, I replied, feeling a bit sheepish for not thanking the operator sooner. Well, do we get reinforcements? Came an anxious reply from Torian. Indeed, we get Umbra reinforcements that will arrive in about 5 hours. A whole battalion of them, I said with a click of my beak in amusement. And how many is that exactly? He asked with a worried expression. About 1,000 troops, I said back as I looked over the town again. It's more than enough help for this rabble, I continued as I clapped my beak in more excitement. We flew down towards our temporary base that we had set up in the canopy further south of the town. It wasn't much, but it had its charm. A large tree with a sizable hole in it was the core of our HQ. Hanging tents and rushed platforms surrounded it on 4 levels with cable lines attached to walk past each floor. It served our purpose well. We flew into the hollowed-out tree. Inside, on the edges, were boxes of ammunition and supplies. At the center was a hologram table with a few operators on mobile computer stations around it. It was a spacious place and was used as efficiently as possible. We landed a few meters away from the table, and of course, the first thing I heard was the grumbling of that old gray-feathered veteran who just refuses to either retire or kick the bucket. Well, good morning, Zephyr. How is the scouting going? I said in amusement, wondering if the old coot would get déjà vu. Bah, nothing much to it. We are just harassing them a bit. Wait, we have gone through this before, haven't we? He said as he scratched his head and looked puzzled at me. Yes, we have. It was when we were liberating our home and the Umbra came to help us, I said with a beak clap. Hey, and what? Are they already here again? He mused as he swiftly looked around himself in anticipation. Well, they are coming, a lot of them, but you are in the clear for now. They will arrive in roughly 5 hours, I said with a light chirp. Well, at least we know they are coming. I almost molted on the spot last time they popped down from the canopy, he said with a good amount of gruff. Yes, that is all well and good. Now let's get ready, everyone. We have some powerful reinforcements coming, and they might want to start attacking straight away, I said over the crowd in the HQ. Let's make sure we are prepared for anything when they arrive, I then yelled as I got a unanimous, yes, sir, from the crowd. I told the troops that our allies would most likely arrive by landing crafts, so I ordered them to create a clearing close by. I gave those coordinates to OS1 to give to Gray, as he was not far out now. The rest was to wait and prepare. Time went by slowly, but I got a ping and a voice in my head when Gray and his men were about 15 minutes out. Good to hear from you again, my friend. Oh, I mean Shadowcrest Commander, sir, came the sarcastic tone from Gray over the comms. Please don't call me that. You are my friend, and that comes before rank in my book, Lieutenant Major, I said, adding my own blend of a sarcastic tone at the end. He laughed for a bit, then sighed. It's truly good to hear from you again, Xelios. We will arrive at the landing zone in a few minutes. We will arrive in 5 owl transports. We also have an experimental weapon with us, he said, and I could practically hear his smile through the audio. Looking forward to seeing what that crazy crow Monin has cooked up this time. See you soon, I replied with a beak clap. A few minutes later, the transports arrived, their sleek black feather shapes glistening only slightly in the noon sun. I greeted them with my retinue of officers, as first impressions are important. My soldiers had never operated with the Umbra directly. We were a rescue and cleanup crew during the capital battle, and every order from the Umbra went through me. I saw some familiar faces, Captain Harold, Captain Hayes, Lieutenant Kyle, as well as former Lieutenant Eric, who had now been promoted to captain. I later received news that Kyle refused to be offered a higher rank since it would limit his freedom, but I think it would simply hinder his shenanigans. We took Gray and his captains back to our HQ and we went over plans on how to engage the hunkered-down enemy. They are pretty well dug in there. It would be a hassle, even with an EMP from the owl ships. They have strong choke points and anti-air defenses, said Harold as he looked over the map and images on the table. Indeed, we could wait for night and assault the enemy as is, but we could incur losses in the fighting, Hayes said in his usual harsh demeanor. Are there any Illyrian prisoners in the town? Gray asked after a bit of strategic bickering between the officers. No, there are none. The entire town was evacuated when the first signs of the Xyrran fleet arrived, I answered, looking inquisitively at him, wondering what he had in mind. His face widened to a wicked grin. Then there won't be a problem. How long until your men are ready to engage them? We only need you to distract them for a moment, he asked as he looked me in the eyes, the smile growing into a sinister one. I figured, knowing you, we could be asked to engage immediately, so I've ordered my men to be ready as soon as possible. Good, then I'll share this with you, he said as he typed a bit on his Cotiad, and both I and every captain got a ping on their device. The information about the new experimental weapon flew into my mind, and my beak dropped. I could see the eyes widening on the Umbra captains as they looked at Gray with a mixture of expressions. How? This is an extraordinary weapon, and mighty dangerous as well, I said after finishing going through all the files again. Indeed, Moonin has created something vile this time. It won't affect Umbra soldiers, but it will affect both the Xyrrans and your men, so once I give the signal, you must retreat your men to a safe distance, Gray said with a stern look on his face. I'll make sure my men retreat after the signal is given, I said as I saluted. He did so as well, and we went over the strategy. My army will assault the enemy from the south and west sides, drawing their attention. Meanwhile, Gray and his battalion will attack with the new weapon from the north. The enemy is in a defensive position around the spaceports and lower areas around it, covering around a 3 kilometers radius. Once the weapon is in effect, it will render 2/3 of their base off-limits for us. We will hunt the remnants that will be outside the influence of the weapon. An hour of preparation went by, and my army was in position. Everyone seemed nervous but focused. This was one of the last remnants of the Xyrran forces on the planet. It could have been eradicated by the Terran fleet, but that could have caused mass destruction of homes, so it was decided to let Umbra finish off the remnants. I was nervous. It was early afternoon as we entered the town silently. There were no patrols since they had been picked off by our snipers in previous skirmishes. We were now in range of the enemy stronghold. There were bunkers and walls of iron and slab, made from those cage crafting machines that trapped my kin. I saw guards at the walls, pacing nervously. Begin the assault, I said in a commanding tone, and laser fire began spraying at the defenses of the Xyrrans. It took merely moments before they began shooting back. A light show of blue and red streaks of superheated plasma shone over a large stretch of the town. I flew higher to get a better vantage point. We were holding them back, but casualties were beginning to mount on both sides. Commander Xelios, the payload is en route. Retreat to a safe distance, Gray said in a stern voice over the comms. I commanded my troops to retreat about 500 meters back as I watched a large black drone-like thing fly straight towards the enemy. It was carrying a large spherical bomb. It increased its speed as I saw it impact close to the center of the Xyrran base. A large black smoke cloud puffed up in a dome shape, roughly 2 kilometers wide in mere seconds. Commander, what is that smoke cloud? Asked Torian as he watched the clouds barely move, containing themselves by some unseen force in that half-spherical shape. That is a new experimental weapon called the BAB-1, which stands for the Black Ash Bomb. It creates a thick cloud radius of about 2 kilometers where you can barely see 3 meters in front of you. There are fine particles mixed in it that will irritate the eyes of anyone who is caught within it, but those fine particles will also cause the individual to hallucinate. They will see their friends as enemies or monstrous beings hell-bent on killing them. The Xyrrans caught within that cloud will kill each other like their life depends on it. It is truly a wicked weapon, I said as I watched laser shots fire out of the cloud in all directions. Why would they create such a weapon? Torian asked again, his feathers puffed in fear. Because they are Terrans. It is in their nature to find optimal ways to hunt, and what better prey is there than one that is delirious and in a state of panic? They will always strive to be efficient, for that is what they do best, I said with a stern look. Yet I felt joy creeping up in the back of my mind. I clapped my beak in laughter, which shocked Torian. Guess I have been influenced by them a bit, I said as I could hear the faint screams of the Xyrrans trapped within the giant black cloud.